literally killing myself in terms of giving. I had a lot of discipline in terms of meeting the needs of other people, but I wasn't disciplined in meeting the needs of myself.
Talking with Tiffynee, and this is season 2. I am super excited to announce today's guest and just our show topic, because I think this is something that we all struggle with. But what I've gotten to see from her is the power of discipline, self-discipline, like literally like what she's done. And let me be honest, I've seen her do this twice so far in her life, and I've only known her for, I want to say her kids are like 11, 12. And I've known her for that amount, but we've actually just started getting close in the last few years. But I've gotten to watch her once as a spectator and the second time as her friend. And it's been just like an amazing thing. So I am welcoming, and I'm going to introduce her, Christina Weatherby. Whoop, whoop. She is a wife, a mother of 3. She lives in Atlanta, and she is the host of the Bomb Diggity podcast and show, No Filter Moms. And I'm super excited for her just to explain what that is, because when we have no filters, it is on and popping. So everybody, please put a round of applause for my special guest, Christina Weatherby.
Hi. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I have no complaints. I could complain, but I won't.
Yes, I love that. Please tell our audience a little bit more about you, because you're actually the only person that I brought back this second season so far. And last season we did self-allowance and stuff, and which is amazing now that you think about self-allowance and how you stayed true to the things that you said and then what you went into. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's been quite a journey. So I, as you said, I live in Atlanta. I have 3 beautiful daughters. I've been born and raised in Atlanta. I did move to Baltimore for a few years to work in healthcare. I still work in healthcare, just not as much. I've been blessed to be able to cut back and focus on more on my daughters. So I guess you can kind of say I'm a pseudo stay-at-home mom, but not to take credit from the real stay-at-home moms, because that's a job within itself. And I have a company called No Filter Moms. It's a platform that really gives women an opportunity to be open and honest about their journey through motherhood. We celebrate women. We celebrate moms, whether you're a mom by giving birth to your own child, you're adopted. We really give women the opportunity to share what it really, the true struggles and the victories of being a mother. So that's what No Filter Moms is all about. We get real. We keep it real. Our slogan, so to speak, is real life, real talk, real mom. So we want to celebrate the fun stuff, the glamour, the beauty, and all the things that we like to focus on the outside. But we really dig deep about really the hard work that goes into being a mom, but also preserving who you are as a woman. So that's what No Filter Moms is all about.
I love that. And I love you.
I love you.
So today we're talking about self-discipline. And this is something that you have, when I say, guys, she bodies this, like bodied it. And like I said, I've seen her do it 2 times. And this time it was more, I think what she did was, I think you were more intentional this time as well going into this. So I looked up the word self-discipline. And it's the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses, the ability to pursue what one thinks is right, despite the temptations to abandon it.
Yes.
And what does self-discipline mean for you?
I think if you ask me this, maybe in my 20s, I would have a different answer. Now that I've entered my 40s, self-discipline to me is a balance between accountability and grace. It's holding yourself accountable when you can, pushing yourself when you know you need to push yourself. And that could be something different for all of us, because we all have different limitations. All of us are different. I don't look at my friends to determine what my accountability should be. I look within myself. But it's also giving yourself grace to know that you may not be consistent every day. Right. You may not be consistent with every project or every goal you set for yourself. So it's giving yourself permission to pull back when you need to, but also being accountable and knowing yourself enough when you need to push yourself a little bit further to meet your goals.
Right.
So now in my 20s, I would say go hard or go home, right? Because when we're young, I would say, especially in the Black community, we are pushed to strive, to excel, to achieve, to overcome, to push, push, push. Even if it's burnout, we push, 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 right? So if you ask me this in my 20s, it's go hard or go home, get it done, set the goals, achieve it. Now, as I get older, I start to understand life a little bit differently. I start to understand my body, my mind, my spirit. And I'm really working on finding that balance between holding myself accountable, like I said before, but also giving myself grace to pull back when I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. I love it all. I love it all.
It's
Especially with
hard.
you mentioning grace, because I talk about that in this book. This Isn't You.
Yeah.
I talk about grace and mercy, and I actually define it, because I think when we hear those words, you don't think necessarily what it really means. And grace means unmerited mercy.
Right.
And mercy is giving somebody something that's undeserved when they actually deserve punishment, right? And so when you don't complete a goal that you say you're going to get, like you said, go hard or go home, you're hard on yourself. But you're now saying, be easy, give yourself grace, give it unmerited. It's not deserved. It's not necessarily, but you showed up.
Yes.
And you were there. And I think as I've watched you just this last past year, and which has been really cool, is that you did it in a way where the year before we were constantly talking to each other, and then this year you kind of had to separate yourself from, and not in a bad way, but just to separate yourself from anything, but you just to be focused on self, like really just to put self forward and say, okay, I need to do that. So what do you think? This leads into my first question, is what has been your experience with being self-disciplined in your life now as an adult versus in your early years? Because you actually did something. You have lost. Can you tell everybody how much you've lost?
105 pounds. And I put on muscle this time. And you did allude to it in the intro. I have lost weight before. The motivation was different. I think the timing of my life was different. And even the way I went about it, still very healthy. Both times are very healthy, methods of losing weight. But this time it meant something different for me. I think my motivation was really more health related. Last time it was health related too, but this time I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And for those who don't know, it is a reproductive hormonal disorder, the way I like to describe it. It predisposes me for diabetes, heart disease, also excessive weight gain. So it makes it really hard to lose weight and keep it off. And so initially, when I lost weight a few years, well, it's been longer than a few years, it was more about me wanting to feel good and, be healthy, which is appropriate. This time, as I got older, my body started to kind of break down a little bit in terms of I was getting high cholesterol. I was pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, the whole thing. And all I could think about was not being around for my children. And I was, I'm entering my 40s. I just did not want my story to end with years and years of poor health, medication, heart disease. And so I made a choice for me, but most importantly for my daughters, to lose weight. And now I'm really focused more on muscle building and things like that. So my journey is a little bit different. And to get back to your original question about discipline, I think the biggest thing is that as women, life is harder for us. And there's no disrespect to our brothers. Their life is hard in a different way. But for us, because most of us have that natural nurturing complex, it's really hard to disconnect ourselves from what the world needs from us and give more to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And that was a huge issue for me because innately that's just who I am. I'm a giver. And what I started to learn about myself this time is that I had given so much to my job, so much to my husband, so much to my children, that I was literally killing myself in terms of giving. I had a lot of discipline in terms of meeting the needs of other people, but I wasn't disciplined in meeting the needs of myself.
Girl,
and so
that's a quote.
Yes. And so I had to get more discipline for me. And even to this very day, there are days where I get up and my outside commitments, my external commitments get in the way of my diet and my fitness. And I have made myself a priority and discipline myself to put myself first. My workout comes first, my meal prep comes first. Everything else gets scheduled around it. And for a lot of people, they may say that's impossible. But I feel like as women, we do a lot of impossible things. We make a lot of impossible things happen for other people. And so it's really trying to find ways to adjust life to make impossible things happen for yourself. But I do feel like discipline is different for everybody. I don't want people to look at me and my story and try to model their lives after me. I think that's the biggest mistake we make as humans, but more importantly as women. All of us have different lives. We have different personalities. We have different commitments to family, to jobs. We have things that we prioritize differently. And so I think that we have to be flexible enough to be able to take bits and pieces from each other in terms of advice and motivation, but you really need to tailor life for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to live life for other people. You don't have to live life the way your mom told you you're supposed to live life or the way you see your friends live life. I think the biggest thing is that discipline comes in the form of recognizing your limitations, recognizing your strengths, and making it work for you.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah.
know what's so funny, and I don't know if you remember this, last year you were on the show and the topic was self-allowance, and you said, and actually we posted this clip a few weeks ago. You were like, I think I allow myself to overextend myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, and you were talking about that. And today what you're saying is I put myself 1st
Mm-hmm.
before an extension of me can be extended.
Yep.
And it goes back to, I heard Ayan Levizant say something, what's in your cup is for you, what is out of your cup is for others.
That's right.
And constantly we're trying to allow people to drink out of our cup and then not recognizing that if your cup does not get filled up at the rate that you are dispensing it to others, then you are then giving people a negative balance. And I tell people, when you give someone something from your account, just like a regular bank account, and you're negative, you're gonna pay a fee. And that
Yes.
fee can come into attitude, bad health,
Yes.
just bad disposition.
Stress, anxiety, depression. Yes.
Yes.
And then it also starts to impact how you manage your relationships too. There are times where I overextend myself to the point where I'm not a good mother. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong. I think we all strive to put off this image that we are great parents all the time, that we are great wives, we are great at everything. And there are some days I lay in the bed and I'm like, I did a really bad job today. And I'm okay with it. I don't beat myself up about it. I just acknowledge it and I say, okay, what can I do differently tomorrow? And I get up and I try my best to do things differently, but I also give myself grace and say that I am human and none of us are meant to be on point with everything. And that's why I go back to the whole flexibility. I am still struggling with self-allowance. I don't want people to, I don't want to give off the impression that because I've lost weight and I'm in this space of evolving right now that I have mastered self-allowance and discipline.
Right.
I am a work in progress. I still suffer from anxiety. I still suffer from depression. I get extremely stressed out. But I think for me, what's important is that I understand and I recognize the source of my stress. I recognize that I'm still a work in progress, right? I'm not perfect. And the things that I can control or I can manage, I do the best at managing. And the things that I can't, I've gotten better at releasing it. Even some of my friendships, I know that you were saying like we haven't really talked much this year. And I've had that kind of interaction with a lot of my girlfriends. And it's like you said, it was nothing negative. It's not a loss of love or, oh, I can't talk to you because we're not. It's really more of I had to pull back and I had to explain this to my husband because I think he thought I was becoming a recluse or something. But I needed time. I knew that I was out of control. I knew that mental health, I was out of control. Weight, I was out of control. And I needed space to figure out how to reconnect with myself. And sometimes when we are out of control, we tend to run to our friends and family to help us assess what's going on and give us all these answers. And really what I needed was time with myself and time with God. And I needed to disconnect because a lot of people will put energy into you that you don't need. And I really need to reconnect with myself. And now that I'm starting to become better and stronger, I am reconnecting with a lot of my friends. But even then, though, that reconnection has some boundaries because I
Yeah.
understand where my mental health is. So it's a journey. I just want everybody to understand it's a journey. It may be with me for the rest of my life, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't nothing wrong with that. And I love that I had just did an episode with a pastor's wife about self-preaching and just talking, but taking the word of God and applying it to yourself and making it come alive and applicable in your life, not just what, like, because when we're young we learn the Bible and all that stuff, and we just learn knowledge, and she was explaining that, like, it's just a knowledge thing and you're just applied all this stuff, but you don't necessarily use it until you go through something,
Right.
and you even saying, like, pulling back from people, and I think that's really necessary. And if I can tell the audience anything today, it's necessary for you to have those by yourself where you can self-reflect. And even that is self-discipline, where you're not seeking validation from others.
Yes.
And not having people say, okay, well, that's okay, or yeah, or even just having people like, girl, I'm going through this. Yeah, me too. Like feeling like you need someone to be on your team just to recognize something in yourself.
Yes.
Because
society makes you feel that way. They make you feel like you have to be a part of something or be a part of a trend or a group, and I do think there is healing in connecting with people. But I also think, once again, it's getting to know yourself enough to know how to protect your energy, how to protect your space, when to connect, when to disconnect. And I don't think you really get a chance to know that unless you spend more time with yourself and be flexible with evolving, in that way. But society teaches us that connection, touch and agree and connect on everything. And I think that there's a time and a place for everything. And some journeys are meant to be taken alone.
You are so right, because I did another episode about self exploration, and it's like we were talking about. I was telling her about Dora, and how in Dora, she always wanted exploration by herself, but when someone was with her, which was Boots, he came from the environment that she was exploring in.
Yes.
And so sometimes we're not comfortable with finding something outside of our environment. We want to take somebody along with us.
Yes, because it feels good. It's comfortable.
Yes,
you feel centered.
Like the buddy system. Go to the bathroom with the buddy system, right?
Yeah, it's familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but sometimes God wants you in the unfamiliar, because that's where you discover the most about yourself.
Yes.
Being in that space of discomfort.
Yes.
And we run from discomfort. I run to this very day. I still run from discomfort. I don't like not knowing what's going to happen next. I like consistency. I like knowing the next step. And God has me in a true place of unfamiliar and discomfort. And initially I hated it. I was, very angry with him. I was very frustrated for allowing myself, because like I said, it's all about control to get into this space. But now I'm starting to realize that what God is doing for me in my life right now is he's building trust. Me trusting in him and trusting in myself to know that I am smart enough and I'm strong enough and I'm capable of being disciplined and having enough self-allowance to be healthier and be happier and be more centered and thankful in my life. I think I'm always, my whole entire life, I've always been trained to strive for more, go hard or go home. And I think what God is teaching me is that that's not why you're here. That's not what you're supposed. I understand what society is telling you. Yeah, you're a Black woman, independent. You got to go out there and get it, break the glass ceiling. And yes, you can do that. But even then, that's how you're doing it is not the way that I intended for you to go about it. And I think a lot of us need to take a step back and say, what exactly are we trying to achieve in life, and why, and at what cost?
Yeah.
And then I think that's where I'm at now. I've achieved a lot in my career. I was managing a whole campus of respiratory therapists in my 30s. I've taught at the university level. I've achieved a lot because I had that go home or go hard mentality at a very young age. But then as I started to get into my late 30s and 40s, I did not feel fulfilled. And I started to realize that, I was very disciplined, but was I disciplined for what God intended for me in my life?
Yes.
At what cost? I achieved a lot, but what was I sacrificing to achieve those things? And this is what, and does that define me? And is that really what my life is all about?
Right.
And so that's where I'm at right now. Is what is my life all about? What do I want my story to be?
You, girl, let me tell you, this is so funny because I recently applied for grad school for doctorates program, and I had no qualifications to apply to this experimental neurology program, basically,
Wow, yeah.
and to become a neuroscience and stuff. And so,
Yes.
come to find out, I'm like all geek, and I'm like, yes, I'm moving, I'm doing all this stuff because that was my mindset. Like, it also was, I was ready to put down everything that I was doing to just become a doctor. And what ended up happening is I actually made the top 10 out of hundreds of applicants, but I
Wow.
didn't make the top 3.
Oh no.
And that's what I felt in that moment, right? But then
Right.
God was reminding me that you were ready to do something that I didn't tell you that you were made for, right? I did not tell you that you were just going to put this one thing down and then abandon everything out. And
Right.
so in that, my self-discipline was like challenged because it was like, okay, I did what I filled out the application, I did all this and stuff like that. And God was like, yes, but I wanted to make sure that you were disciplined enough to do that.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you were going to get it on the first round, but he still kept me in value, which was making the top 10.
And he wanted you to see how strong and how talented you were to even be in that position to get to the top 10. I mean, that's absolutely amazing.
Yes. And
that's
even
awesome.
Thank you. And even in that, my identity after that happened, I struggled with my identity after that because I was like, well, who am I? And God was like, how does that one thing take away from who I told you
We're
you
so
were?
hard on ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And that came from, honestly, lack of self-discipline early on in life, right? And the insecurity creeping back in, thinking that, oh, you can only do one thing at a time, or you know what I'm saying, and so put everything down or whatever.
Yes. And it comes from also the mindset that our success is only defined by our value is only defined by our success and not our failures.
Yes.
Because there's value in failing at things as well. And I teach my girls this. I teach them, yes, celebrate the wins, but when you have the failures, take time to dissect it and see, well, what went well and what didn't go well, and what can you do differently? Because there is a lot of learning in failure as well. That's going to make you stronger for the next opportunity. It's going to make you more prepared for the next opportunity. But I think for us culturally, we're always thinking about winning. Like I said, breaking that glass ceiling. And yes, it could be that God's plan for you is to have a huge win and a huge success later, but he wants you to be prepared and be ready to take on that success, right? And so with that comes the failures. You learn from those failures and you'll be stronger and better next time the opportunity comes around. That's what I have to tell myself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even as you're saying that's something that hit me as you're like, I'm like, that was something I've even had a hard time just even saying what I just said to you out loud because it was like, I felt like, and then God's like reminding me like, no, this is what you did. And there is success in that failure that you think is a failure, but what I think is a stepping stone.
That's right. It's preparation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that. Like, just even watching how you've made the decision to go to the gym every day, to meal prep. And last year, I remember we had a conversation. And you're like, I don't have time to do that. I don't have. You just.
I made so many excuses. I made so many excuses. And then, like I said, when I went to the cardiologist, I was having like dizzy spells and my labs were all out of whack. And that was the first time in my entire life I have ever had abnormal labs. And
hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure you click the link below and pick up one of these Sis Is It You books. This book is some of the things that me and the ladies are talking about. It has a lot of helpful tools in this book. Don't get discouraged by the spine. It's not a journal. It's a book. It just allows you to flip it back and do things like this. So click the link below or Tiffynee.com, Tiffynee.com, and pick this up. Sis Is It You or sisisyou.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
She was like, okay, well, we'll just put you on medication. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, we're gonna put you on a cholesterol, blood pressure. And I was like, no, that's okay. I got this. Give me 3 months. Give me three. Because at that moment I thought to myself, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is not you. And I started to think, is this really what my story is gonna be? Am I gonna just slide right into my 40s, 50s, 60s, on medication, heart disease, multiple doctor's appointments? Like, I want to control so many things, and I give and contribute to so many people in my life that I really cannot do this for myself. I cannot and I've done it before. And that's what I told the car. I was like, you know what? I can, and this wasn't the first appointment with her. This was after like the second or third appointment. She was like, you know what, girl, you keep coming in here talking about what you're going to do. Let's just go ahead and start these. And I was like, and I thought, this is insane, Christina. You're being absolutely ridiculous. And that's what it took. And that goes back to that failure thing I was telling you about, is that I had multiple failed visits with my doctor before she was finally like, okay, we're going to put you on meds. And I was like, no, I can. And that's why I tell people, don't get discouraged. Even when it comes to diet and exercise, if you start working out, you fall off the wagon, just get back on. Take it one day at a time, one walk at a time. And if you fail, it's okay. There's a lesson to be learned in each failure. If you start walking and you come up with some crazy schedule that you can't commit to, don't just stop walking altogether. Pull back on the schedule, adjust. And that's what discipline to me is all about. It's not how hard can you push yourself until you fall apart. It's how many times can you keep trying until you find a win? Yeah. Can you be flexible enough to adjust? And this goes for diet and exercise. It goes for raising your children. It goes from your job, anything, your mental health, anything you have going on. How committed are you and flexible are you and willing to adjust to create the win for yourself? Because in the end, that's all that really matters.
You are so right.
Yeah.
And as you're saying this, I'm reading the definition. It said the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weakness. When you fail, you think that is a weakness.
Yes.
And vulnerability and even transparency is a strength. It's something that you get to say, well, I failed and now I got to get up and go back at it again. And like you said, you did this before and you looked fantastic the first time.
Yes.
But you doing it again the second time, I was like, I know you can do this. Yes. I know you have the power. And you, like you said, you had to believe it to yourself.
Yes. So, and I have no shame in telling people that I have lost 100 pounds. I think a lot of people are, I've done a lot of, I wouldn't call it research, but I've read a lot of social media stories about how people had a lot of shame when they lost all that weight and then they gained it back and they were so embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not. I feel like that's my journey. I recognize what I did wrong the first time. And it's given me knowledge and wisdom on what to do this time. Yes. So and that's why I tell people stop looking at failures as the end all and be all. Stop looking at falling off the wagon as the end all and be all. That is what defines you. You are not a failure. Every failure has a learning opportunity. And the fact that I lost all that weight before and gained most of it back, I'm not ashamed of that. And I want people to know it can happen.
Yeah.
And you can learn from that. And now I have a more understanding of my body and my mental health and what I need to do to be more consistent. Now, God forbid, I don't see myself gaining any weight back this time around. I think I know a lot more about myself. And I know I have more knowledge of how to manage my diet and exercise than before. But God forbid if it ever happens again, I won't be ashamed. I'm just not going to be. I think we need to give ourselves grace. I think we need to stop the world beats us up enough. I think we need to love ourselves more and give ourselves more grace and be more patient with ourselves. We are human beings. We are not superheroes. We are not invincible, and life comes at us fast. And I think grace and discipline needs to go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And I think for me, and a lot of people don't know this because they see me now and they're like, oh, you're small. And I'm like, in 2016, I was 200 and something pounds. Yeah. And I had to have a gastric sleeve because I have heart disease. I have congestive heart failure. And it wasn't my choice. It was the doctor's like, yo, we can't risk this.
Right.
But even in that, you can get the surgery. And I had the surgery and I got it done with 3 to 4 other people that actually got the surgery done. And out of those four, two of us kept our weight off and two gained their weight back.
Wow.
And one
It can
had
happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things I had to make, like you said, I had to know me. And that was
Mm-hmm.
something they make you go through as a psychology test. Like you have to get seen by the psychologist because you have to recognize, do you even know what your triggers are? Do
Mm-hmm.
you even know yourself? And that was something that I had to make a decision with, a healthy decision where I cannot eat this, I cannot do this, I cannot be
Right.
all these things and stuff. So that leads me into my next question is
Mm-hmm.
how do you become aware of what you cannot manage in your self discipline, and how do you become and how it becomes out of your control? How does it, what is that? How did you become aware of that? And then you kind of spoke on it about going to the doctor's office, but even if you go back to the first time you lost weight and then going into that, do you see where you like lost control of that, where you're like,
Yeah. I think it goes back to that giving more to others than myself. You know, I am a giver. I mean, I literally thrive off of making people happy. I'm a people pleaser. And I am the type of person when I commit to something, I go as you can see, I go 100%, right? So I think, I was a manager of a respiratory care department for a campus at a hospital here in Atlanta. And that job took a lot out of me because when I walked into that position, there was a lot of issues, that need to be rectified. I also have a special needs daughter, and I have two other daughters, and I have a husband for those out there who are married. Need I say more? And at the end, when I started that job, that was really at the point where I had lost all that weight. And I put my blinders on and I went hardcore into that job, into my family. And I put myself last. There were days at work where I didn't eat all day. All I might have had was a cup of coffee. And then when I got home, I would eat a Chick-fil-A meal, and I'll be eating it in the car. Or I'll have a bag of chips all day at work and a cup of coffee. So, and then like I said, when I did eat, it would be bad. So my metabolism was off. My cortisol was all over the place because I was stressed out managing my special needs daughter and her issues with school. And that's a whole nother show within itself because, the public education system and special needs kids, But,
right,
I that is where I lost control of my discipline the first time. Not being connected with balancing giving to others because because God's plan, I mean, in my spiritual opinion, we are here to serve. We are
yes,
here to serve God in service of others, right? That's what I believe our purpose here is on this planet that we've lost sight of. And so
right,
I don't want people to think that you have to become so selfish that you don't sow into the needs of others. Yes, there is a part of us that we're supposed to be sowing and loving into each other. But for me, I didn't have balance. And I think because I was so busy sowing into others, I wasn't disciplined enough to keep some for myself. Now it's very different. I'm very good at telling people no. I could do better, but I'm very good at saying no. I'm not available. There are days where I have a ton of stuff to do on my list, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it today. I think I'm just gonna lay in the bed. Now I do that within reason because I know what the rest of my week looks like,
yes,
but I don't put pressure on myself to try to push myself. If I'm waking up that morning and I'm feeling mentally out of whack and I have space within my week to shift around, I'm going to shift around. If there is a commitment that I can't keep, I'm going to graciously tell people I can't keep that commitment and can we reschedule? Or if it's something my husband can do, I'm gonna put something on his plate because our brothers, they don't mind. So for me, like I said, I can give all these different examples for my life and my situation, but I really encourage people to take a step back and look specifically at their situation and figure out what works for them. But to kind of really answer your question, I would say for me, it's understanding when I overcommit. And that is what throws my discipline off. Overcommitting and not balancing the needs of others with the needs of myself. My diet and exercise routine comes first. And the reason why I have prioritized that is not from a beauty or aesthetic standpoint. It is for me a life or death situation. I do have a medical condition. Not everybody has a medical condition. So you might have to prioritize diet and exercise in a different way. Still do it, but maybe you don't have to go as hard as me. For
right,
me, it's a life or death situation. I want to be around for my grandkids. I want to be around for my children, my daughters. I want to be healthy and fit. I don't want them to have to take care of me when I'm 65 or 70 years old. I
Yeah.
have PCOS. My PCOS requires me to be heart healthy. And
Yeah.
that requires me to eat right and diet and exercise. And so my diet and fitness is non-negotiable. Everything
Yeah.
else will happen when I get done working out. And that's how I discipline myself. Everything else I can flex on and be in service to others when it, when necessary. But diet and exercise is a non-negotiable for me.
I just even you saying, I think you said a lot of key things that are also going to be helpful for the audience to actually adapt to, because one of the things that you said was, and you said it last year, you was like, I allow myself to, and you had to admit it first. I
Mm-hmm.
allow myself to overcommit, and then we get caught up in not wanting to change. So when you do overcommit or not wanting to disappoint, and stuff, and I love that you're saying that I now have even the ability to say, hey, husband, can you do this? Or I
Yes.
need you to do this, because
Give it back to him.
right. We
Yeah.
have people
And,
on
and
our
your
team.
mom and your sister and your coworker and everybody else that calls me like, hey, like, it was so funny. My sister called me today and I love her. Hey sis, I love you. And my sister, she's my big sister. I call her big little sis. And she's fine with it. It's a little, inside joke. But she calls me because I am the healthcare one in my family. Now I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm not a nurse or a doctor, but they call me for everything. And she was like, hey, what can I take for a stomach ache? Now I am running the streets. I am so busy. And my sister is the kind of person who will call and call and call till I answer, because that's what we do to each other. I do it too. And I finally was like, hey, are you okay? She's like, hey, what can I take for a stomach ache? And I was like, did you try to Google this before you called me? Like, what type of stomach ache? Like, what is going on? I put it back on her. And that's what I do. And a lot of people call me for things that they are used to me taking on. Oh, yes, I can do it for you. I can look it up. I can research it. I can plan it. I tell people now, yeah, I would love to go on that family vacation with you, but you're going to have to plan it and just let me know the cost.
Yes.
I can't plan a trip right now. I am underwater with a bunch of other things that are priority. I can't take on Googling your and diagnosing your tummy ache and telling you what meds are available, because I'm going to Google it to help you.
Yeah.
So you could Google it, right? I
Yeah.
cannot plan the family vacation, all the outings, the activities, the costs, the total package of, I have friends that are travel agents, if you want to call them,
Yes.
or you could plan it and tell me how much. I mean, this is what I do. Same thing with my husband. My husband asked me what, he's responsible for meals in the house. But some kind of way he always asks me, what do you want to eat? Now, for most people, deciding dinner could be a very small thing, right? Oh, we can have chicken and vegetables. That's small. But that's still mental currency to me.
Yes.
Because that's still a task that could be small in your eyes that I don't want to do right now, because my brain is going like, I'm a mom. It's going like this. You're responsible for meals. You decide.
Yeah.
You are responsible for meals. You make the grocery list. And so I've just gotten better at saying, I don't need to be a part of this. And he will tell you, I'll say, I don't need to be a part of this. I got to go fold clothes.
Yeah. Pick somebody else.
Unless you want to fold clothes, and then I can be a part of that. I can't figure it out.
I have become really good at that too, where I'm like you, I will do everything and I will complete something. And I remember where it got to a point where my husband was now treating me like God, where everything, like, you have the answer, and so he wouldn't even seek things. And even my kids were doing it. And this just happened the other day where my daughter kept coming to me. She's fixing her Legos. And after I solve a problem, because that's what we do, we solve things,
we do
fix things.
Yes.
She kept coming back. And I said, got to a point, I said, are you even trying? Are you even trying to troubleshoot this yourself before getting me up and coming out of my desk and coming to help you? And she said, well, kinda. And I said, no, we need to fully engulf ourselves into the solution making before you come get me, because I should be last resort. I don't mind helping you.
Right.
But I can't stop what I'm doing, because every time you stop what I'm doing, I'm now getting behind. And I remember that happened with dinner too, where we separated, where everybody has 2 days where they cook.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, girl, because I was like, this is not my task. Like,
it's too much.
It's already a hectic on the 2 days that I do it. And I remember there was one day my daughter comes to me and she's like, well, what do you want? Not my decision. this is your day and it's your job to think ahead of time
Exactly.
instead of coming to me and weighing me down. Because like you said, it's a mental currency that I'm having to give. And if I'm already depleted or I've already
You're in
budgeted
the
out,
negative, or budgeted. Yes. Yes.
my mental currency, like, okay, I'm going to put $2 here, $2 here, whatever. And I only had $20 for the day.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the negative for you because
Yes.
you refuse to think.
Yes. Yes.
And but like you said, that takes self-discipline as well.
I was just getting ready to say that that's discipline within itself, because if you are naturally a giver and a people pleaser, you almost feel conflicted. There's a part of your mind that says, I really cannot take on nothing else. But then there's another part that's like, come on, you can do it. They'll be so happy when you help. Come on, just do it, girl. It takes 5 seconds. And I'm like, and I'm literally battling, like I know it'll take 5 seconds, but they really got to stop coming. And even on the call today, I caught myself, because after I had already kind of told her, hey, did you try to Google this before you called me? Then she was like, no, that's okay. And then I immediately started feeling bad. And I was like, oh, I've disappointed her. Well, tell me what's wrong with your stomach. Is it like food? Did you eat some? And then it's like, and then I was saying, Christina, get off the phone. Stop. You got to set boundaries. And that's why I tell people, I'm a work in progress. It's not an on off switch. If you have spent years doing something, it's going to take time to unravel and do that. Even in that call today, I found myself backsliding into pleasing. I did not want to end the call with her feeling like I didn't care and I didn't love her. And I said, okay, well, I got to go. Cause I was like, stop, Christina, stop helping. You're tired. You're stressed out. You're driving. Get off the phone. And I did it. I backslid a little bit, but then I did it though. I was like, Pepto-Bismol, I got to go. Bye.
Christina, this is funny because the other day my sister called me and I didn't answer the phone. And I'm like this too. And everybody calls me for relationship advice or advice, period. Yeah. Like just, hey, I need to know what's a good decision or whatever. And I didn't answer. And so I texted her and I'm like, what's up? My boundary. What's up? Oh, it's okay. I talked to mom and she helped me through it. I needed you to intervene in something.
Oh, Lord.
And then it was like the Holy Spirit reminded me of what he had been telling me about self-discipline as well as creating boundaries. And I said, you know what? Here's the link to book me if you want relationship advice.
Ooh, I
said,
love it.
But as far as I said, but if you want to call and check in on me, that's fine. But if you want relationship advice, you're going to have to pay for it. And I love it. And I remember telling my mom that I said that, and I told my husband, I said, the only person that actually gets relationship advice for free is my sister, my oldest sister.
Right.
And it's because she actually takes it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was tired of giving stuff out for free and then people weren't using it. So now I've used my mental currency and then I feel like it was wasted.
It was. And you were blessing them with something that people generally pay for. I mean, wow. And that's discipline.
Yeah.
That's discipline. That's a huge testimony.
That was hard too. Like you said, because I was like, I care about her. I want her to be in a happy relationship and I want it to work out. And then the funny thing is her partner then messaged me and he's like, hey, can I scheduled an appointment on your app. You didn't send me a scheduling thing. How do I pay? Like, cause he sees like, this is something that if you're and you're gonna have to do the work instead of me constantly giving it out for free.
Yeah. And discipline comes in. And I like that you said that too, because that is truly a form of discipline too, knowing your value, being disciplined enough to make people value you the way you value yourself.
Yeah.
And that advice you give, because you give excellent, top tier, absolutely relationship advice that people need to value that enough to know that if you ever bless them with free advice, that is truly a blessing.
Yeah.
And making them pay for it is actually going to make them start to realize how valuable you are. That is a word within itself too. That's a testimony.
That's hard for
really
me.
Good.
That was really hard for me. And I'm telling you, like, and that's something that we didn't talk about in this, is what took so long for me to even get to that point was when you're giving something constantly because you're a pleaser, you don't recognize that you're losing self-value because
people don't appreciate you.
Yep. And like you said, with the mental currency, now you've depleted the bank And now that it's negative and it's negative $400 or whatever, there's no value in that because now it's
Yes.
not worth nothing. So now I'm
Yes.
sitting up here like, why won't people sign up for this? Or why? Or did I charge too much or whatever? And God's like, it's because you gave everything for free that you didn't make anyone value what they even needed just to know.
Yes.
And people pay to go, like your health. People pay to go to the doctor. I was just talking to you about you 2 days ago in the car. A lady was having my friend, we always be at the bus stop, called like the bus stop crew, and her son was having bad allergy attack and stuff, and I gave her some advice that you gave me I think
Okay.
2 years
Okay.
ago about like taking your medicine on time and how you broke it down and explained to me what I
Oh, the
was doing
steroids. Yes.
with the body when the body needs to catch up and stuff like that. And she was like, oh my God, I never knew that. But
Yes.
I was like, do you know how valuable that advice was? Like she has saved us
I'm
from
glad.
things.
Yes.
And that is your job. And so when you, like you said, it's a blessing when you're given something from somebody that's an expert in that field.
Yes.
And then you actually use it. It can be a curse when you misgive it out to people that are not going to use it or value it.
Yes. That is amazing. And that gives me a whole new perspective on a lot of things. And I'm grateful that you share that, because I think that is it takes a lot of discipline, and that's a very important way that we have to value ourselves, is to value our time.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of research on the advice that you give people. A lot of the stuff that's in your book, your brand is very much research based, and you take the time and you put the work in, and people have to value that. That's discipline. And the work you do is discipline. So I think that's a huge testimony.
Oh,
that's amazing. Yes,
Thank
congrats
you
to you.
Yeah. I appreciate you.
Yes.
So this leads into my last question is, what are 3 to 5 things that you can give the audience about self-discipline to help themselves? And I know during this message you have been saying that, you know, everything is not done your way, but you really do have great, like, you're amazing. And so the things that you've given me, I'm like, I'm using, like, I'm taking it and I'm running with it because it's amazing.
Oh, we give to each other. So I'm thankful for you too.
I thank you for that. So what's 3 to 5 things that you can give the audience today?
Well, the number one thing I would say is grace. Be kind and be patient with yourself. The amount of time that it took for you to get into whatever that place you perceive that you want to do better and grow from, give yourself grace, give yourself opportunities to fail, strive for success. I'm not saying just fail and be like, oh, I failed again. Oh, well, just, put the work in, have the accountability, but God forbid if you do fail, take the time to assess, give yourself grace, and keep starting over. The second thing is give yourself the space to evolve. You're not who you are 20 years ago. Don't try to be the 20-year-old you doing the 40-year-old thing, whatever your goal is. Take time to become more self-aware of who you are, where you're at in your life, what environmental influences, what internal influences, where is your health, your mental health. Take stock in who you are in this moment when you are setting your goals and what you're trying to achieve. Maybe your goals are not realistic. Maybe they're too lofty for what you have going on in your life. Maybe you need to pull back and take little tiny bites out of that big old sandwich. Okay. So grace, look at the evolution of who you are in that moment. The other thing I will say is be willing to adjust your goals as you go, because you may have had this idea that sounds great at the time, and then other life factors and influences may come along, on your journey. Don't use it as an opportunity to stop. Just make small adjustments. There may be a day where I may not be able to go, to boot camp and do cardio, but that doesn't mean I failed at my fitness regimen. It just means I need to adjust my time today. Or instead of going at 9:30, I got to go at 4:30 because that's just works. So be willing to make adjustments and not look at that as a reason to stop or that you've, failed. The other thing is to set boundaries and limits in terms of who you share and interact with. Your best friend can still be your best friend, but you don't have to share every aspect of your journey. Sometimes people who, if you're trying to evolve into a new you, a bigger, better, healthier, happier version of yourself, sometimes it may be hard for your friends and families to let go of that old version of you. And as you are interacting and engaging with them, as you're trying to evolve, sometimes their energy and spirit can bring you back to who you were before.
Yeah.
And it's slowing your progress. So sometimes it's okay to disconnect with people as you're trying to become more introspective, as you're trying to become more self aware. Disconnect from those people in a loving way. You're not cutting them off for forever. You just need time to really connect with yourself. Do that. Take that time. Peek in every now and then. Say, hey, how you doing? I love you. How's your kids? How's life? Okay, cool. I'm gonna be over here. I'm working on something right now. Disconnect. It's okay to disconnect. Disconnect. Those would be my tips.
And I just want to tell you that, number one, anybody that's listening, I've experienced these tips with her, and even the disconnection tip, and which is so funny because it wasn't like anything happened, but the check-ins happened. It was, hey, I love you, I miss you too, and it was like no love lost, and then keep moving and stuff. And then when you were ready to plug back in, the outlet was there, baby.
Yes, and that's what real love and real friendship is. Because those people, when you're disconnecting in that way, and you're and like I said, and maybe a better word may be hitting the pause button, right? Because you're not disconnecting like, I'm not going to talk to you for 6 months. Hey, it's more so of, hey, I'm good, I'm healthy, you healthy, we good? Yeah, I'm great, I'm working on something. Just want to let you know I love you, I appreciate you. Because that's how our conversations are going. How's your family? How's the dogs? Because you said the dogs are, all that kind of stuff. And then be like, all right, well, I'll talk to you later. That is how you know you have really strong family and friends in your corner, because they understand you enough to know that what you're doing is what you're doing, and it has nothing to do with how you feel about them. And that's a good time to start reevaluating some of your with some of the people, because even if you hit that pause button and hit play, even then, depending on that person, y'all's relationship may need to be a little bit different. Like the things you share with that person, you may not need to share with them anymore. I have friends that I've reconnected with, and our relationships are completely different than what they were, before. And that's okay too. Humans are meant to evolve. We're not meant to be the same person forever. And it's okay to evolve. It's okay to change. So
no, you're absolutely right. And I thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you I just want you guys to give a round of applause to Christina, because she's amazing. I'm super excited for No Filter Moms to come out.
Yes.
Because it's being rebranded and relaunched. And it's going to be amazing. And I think she brings a lot to a discussion that we are not having. And she's giving us a platform for vulnerability, transparency, and just being you and who you are. And
the best version of yourself.
Holding a space for you, even if you cannot feel it in this moment. She is holding a space for you. So Christina, thank you so much.
God bless you. I love you.
I appreciate you. I love you. And everybody, thank you. And please follow up with the next show. Christina, just pose real quick. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you tune in to season 2 with Talking with Tiffynee. This season we have a lot of impactful, powerful guests that are going to dive really deep into some of these words that we put self in front of. You know how I say every time you put the word self in front of a word, you minimize the word in front of it. But these people are actually doing these words wholeheartedly. So check out season 2. Press subscribe, like it, and share, please. Enjoy your week.